Welcome to the Hospital Finance Podcast, your go-to source for information and insights that can help you protect and enhance revenue at your hospital. And now, the host of the Hospital Finance Podcast, Michael Passanante.
Hi, this is Mike Passanante, and welcome back to the Hospital Finance Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Vinny Farina, who is a senior manager in our Revenue Cycle Services team here at BESLER. And Vinny is here today to talk about a topic that I think is not getting a lot of attention out in the marketplace, and that is the Social Security Number Removal Initiative. So welcome, Vinny, to the show.
Hey, thanks for inviting me. Good to see you again.
Absolutely. So, Vinny, why don't we get started? Can you tell us what the Social Security Number Removal Initiative is and where it came from?
Sure. Before we start, just want to ask you, can you share with me what your Social Security number is, your date of birth, and exactly spell your name for me? I need to submit a claim to your insurance company. Realize that my coworkers, insurance company employees, and everyone else involved in the transaction will be able to see your information. Are you good with that?
Sounds a little invasive.
I figured so. I see your hesitation. I completely understand. Obviously, times have changed since the 1960s when the original health insurance claim number, also known as HIC number, first came about. The HIC number is directly linked to the recipient's Social Security number with different prefixes or suffixes added depending on the Medicare eligibility arrangement. The questions I ask are very direct and personal. Many consider them now taboo. I don't blame anyone for being leery to share such information, given the rise in identity theft through many sorts and means. The initiative then is intended to further protect the Medicare recipients from identity theft, since it removes the social altogether from the eligibility and claim process.
So, Vinny, what will the SSNRI replace and how will it work?
The Medicare Access and CHIP Reauthorization Act of 2015, otherwise known as MACRA, mandates the removal of the Social Security number-based health insurance claim number from Medicare cards. Starting in January 2018, the Social Security Number Removal Initiative will begin, revolutionize, and alter the way that the Medicare eligibility process has been conducted. The HIC number will be replaced with a new Medicare Beneficiary Identifier, MBI, which will not contain any social or patient personal information. The MBI will be unique for each individual and have the same 11 number of characters as the current HIC number. However, there will be absolutely no patient identifier in the MBI. Removing the socials might not prevent a healthcare data breach from occurring, but should a Medicare beneficiary lose their Medicare card, it will ensure that the social will not as easily fall into unauthorized hands.
Can you go over the timeline for this transition and any milestones providers should pay close attention to?
Sure. We're looking at a pretty busy 20 to 24-month period. The extent of this change impacts CMS, 90 different stakeholders, entities, and groups, 1.5 million providers, and over 75 IT systems. Most impacted are the 60 million Medicare recipients who are as critical to the initiative as any of the stakeholders involved. The provider community will need to interface with and collect the necessary MBI information during the eligibility process from these individuals during the transition period. They are, meaning the Medicare beneficiaries, are key elements to the transition's success. So again, the transition period is going to start around April 2018 and conclude in January of 2020. Starting in January of 2018, CMS will activate the MBI generator and translation services to create the MBI for living and deceased Medicare beneficiaries. We are talking over 150 million MBIs. That's a huge, huge number. Patients will start being notified of their new MBI in April of 2018. And then between April 2018 and December of 2019, both the HIC number and MBI transactions will be accepted. So there will be a lot of information being exchanged. Providers will have access to the new MBI through the remittance advice process starting in October 2018. Come January 2020, it's the full rollout date. It's the day of reckoning. So all MBIs will be needed and accepted. Only MBIs will be needed and accepted. So there will be a lot going on over a 24 month period. It's crucial to stay current within the current. It is. Let me clarify. It's going to be crucial to stay current with this initiative starting now and through the entire process.
Vinny, you wrote a detailed article about this subject, which will accompany the podcast on our website. And in that article, you mentioned that operational processes and patient interactions should be at the forefront of transition initiatives. Can you review some proposed steps for managing this transition?
Yeah, honestly, impacted stakeholders must start taking steps to prepare for and manage the critical SSNRI initiative transition through the transition period immediately. April 2018 is less than 10 months away. I look at it that there are two critical areas that will need to be at the forefront of planning for this transition. The first is assessing and documenting the current operational process in place for collecting, recording, capturing, and confirming Medicare eligibility. The second is understanding and evaluating how interactions with Medicare beneficiaries are handled. So it's really doing a self-assessment. The current operational process and patient interactions will provide the needed insights that will help recognize and facilitate the changes during the transition period. Some steps to follow include, but obviously are not limited to, authorize and approve an internal redesign project with an individual spearheading the initiative. Dedicate the impacted stakeholders and necessary resources to address this major change. Plan and create the management goals, objectives, and business plan that will be the guide the organization uses through the transition. Develop new policies and procedures, specifically around what occurs when a Medicare patient does not present with a new MBI. What are you going to do about it? You have to figure that out. Determine system implications to include all provider entities. The MBI will be clearly different than the HIC number. Communicate internally and create an outreach program to educate not only the stakeholders from the organization, but also the Medicare recipients who are key through this transition. Monitor and control to make sure that the required process changes and improvements are within the timeline dictated by the CMS transition period. Add key performance information metrics to monitor claim processing delays during the transition. There's a lot going on. These are just a handful of steps to consider. Customize and create the process that works best for your organization and make sure to follow it through.
What should providers be doing right now?
There is absolutely no way around the upcoming change. It will be monumental and a paradigm shift because SSNRI clearly alters the way that the Medicare provider community and its entities have handled patient identification information in the past. There is ample time to start preparing a well-thought-out plan and modifying business process to ensure a smooth transition. Seamless movement to this new standard will help providers protect their Medicare revenue while delivering the best possible experiences to their patients and employees, while also protecting the Medicare recipients. Some simple things to do now are, familiarize yourself with the CMS SSNRI website. It's out there. There's information there. Read it. Check the website for frequent updates. Reach out to their contacts. Read through the different material already available to the provider community. There's a lot of insight in those readings. Join the listserv for email notifications. And honestly, start to track and identify your key internal stakeholders and Medicare experts to create the internal plan. They are the ones that are going to have the insights needed to really differentiate yourselves from others. Most importantly, don't procrastinate. Start planning now. This is a very big deal, and providers need to start preparing for it right away. Anything else?
No, it's certainly going to be a heavy lift in a short amount of time for the provider community. And we thank you for coming by today and helping us understand more about the Social Security number removal initiative.
Great. Thanks for having me, and I'll be looking forward to sharing some more insights in the future.
If you enjoy the Hospital Finance Podcast, please head up to iTunes to subscribe and leave us a positive review.
This concludes today's episode of the Hospital Finance Podcast. For show notes and additional resources to help you protect and enhance revenue at your hospital, visit BESLER.com/podcasts. The Hospital Finance Podcast is a production of BESLER Consulting.